Hello, I'm Chuck Rowe, and to my right is Chris Bazard, my fellow interviewer from the PCA, and we're welcoming you to our Paradise Citizens Alliance interviews of candidates who are running for local, nonpartisan elective office serving the Paradise community. These interviews are meant for you, the voter, to learn more about the candidates, their positions on issues, and to encourage you to vote on November the 8th. And by exercising and voting, you are carrying out one of your greatest privileges and rights as a citizen in our democracy. All these interviews will be posted at our website at paradiseca.org for you, the voter, to access online and to view from October the 8th right up to the election on November the 8th. And with that, I'd like to introduce Mike Zuccolillo, our candidate for Paradise Town Council. Mike, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me here.
Mike, I'm going to lead off just by asking you to tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, a little bit about me. I grew up down in Southern California, and I've slowly moved my way up north. And what really attracted me to Paradise when I first got here was just the sense of community, the sense of a kind of place where people still hold doors open, the kind of place where your neighbor bakes cookies for you and you're not questioning what's in the cookies. And as far as my professional background, I'm currently a real estate broker. I've served on numerous committees in the community. I've been on the Elks, currently chair of the Parade of Flags, been a volunteer at my kids' school. So Paradise has been very good to me. It's a great community, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike, this isn't your first time running for Paradise Town Council. Why did you decide to run again?
Well, 2 years ago when I ran, I had an unfortunate accident happen where I broke my leg. I ended up actually missing my debate, missing my own fundraiser about a month prior to the election. And even with those challenges, I only lost the election by about 280 votes, and I was up against two incumbents. So that told me that there were people in the community that believed in my thoughts and beliefs and ideas. And so when the opportunity came up 2 years again, I've had a chance to be more involved in the community. I've met more people. A lot of people have learned of who I am, and I see where I can be a help to the town. And so it was my calling to run again.
Mike, what do you believe are the biggest challenges facing the town both now and in the future?
I think the biggest challenges are trying to find, who we are as far as our identity moving forward. I know our town, has a rich history of being a small, tight-knit community, but we have some geographical challenges. We're a town of about 28,000, and we're on geographically a dead-end road where, we don't enjoy a lot of the opportunities when you have freeways and whatnot that run through it. So my ideas are focusing on what we can do with what we have. And I think one thing that can really make us stand apart is focusing on education. I know both people I've talked to and in looking at my own kids going through school, the options for education up on the ridge are limited beyond elementary school. You basically have one high school, and we lose a lot of kids that go down the hill. Well, those are families that take their kids down to Chico, they buy gas down there, they buy breakfast down there, they shop down there. And one of my big pushes is, have those people come up here. They come here, they bring their kids here, and really be a draw and really be a magnet. And I think that's something that's, fairly easily attainable because I've seen the town revenue decline, and I feel like we've been kind of doing the same thing over and over again, seeking a different result, and it's just getting us into worse situations. So. I think that would be a large thing. The second on my agenda is to really, rebuild trust in public safety. Paradise has a great police force, and I think after the unfortunate incident, with Officer Feaster, there was really no rebuilding. And, given the national climate where people feel that, police are not being fair, I don't want that same negative climate nationally to reflect on our local community. And I think if we can rebuild that relationship, we can rebuild neighborhood watches, we can rebuild, faith within the police department and really cut down some of this crime. The rise in crime is very scary to me, and, I've been a victim of it a few times at my business. And so those are probably my top two things I like to focus on.
You may have just covered this, but okay. What changes, if any, would you like to see if you're elected to the town council?
A few things. I would like to see the town become more business friendly. What I mean by that is when you walk into town hall, I feel that there's not a path or a system of say, hey, I'd like to bring a business here. It's here's a pile of paperwork, best to you. So I think having a liaison that can help bring businesses, talk about what difficulties and challenges and what the town can do to be an active participant, that would be one. Two, I touched on education, touched on public safety. One, the also,
how would the town council deal with education? I'm a little confused there.
Okay, town council would play a role as far as zoning, as far as making sure expansion of education, whether it's in different classrooms or different venues, has that zoning. Schools can only fit in particular zones, so working with the town and the planning commission to ensure that we have correct zoning for that, and also correct site to accommodate septic and all the other utilities that would be possible. And another thing I'd like to focus on is the Skyway. I know it's been kind of a contentious issue, and I feel that there's a solution that we can have a widened Skyway back to 4 lanes and still provide pedestrian safety. I have a business right on Skyway, and I've seen nothing but accident after accident. I get concerned that someone's really going to get hurt one of these days. And so I think there's a solution where we can have the best of both.
Mike, the initial draft, as you know, the feasibility study on the sewer is due sometime in November. So what would you be, without knowing at this point the results of the study, where do you stand on a possible sewer for Paradise?
It's hard for me to make a real determination right now, because the one thing I haven't heard through all these feasibility studies is, well, how much is it going to cost? And without really having that component, I'm in the business of real estate, it'd be kind of like taking a homeowner without knowing their budget, without knowing what they can qualify for, and say, would you like the $1 million home, or would you like the condo? So I think the first thing to focus on is what type of grants are out there, and is this thing even financially feasible? If it's not financially feasible, bottom line is the majority of the properties that this sewer would serve are small mom and pop owned buildings, with values somewhere, in the low to 100s to the mid 200s. So, if the sewer hookup's going to cost $75,000, it's not going to be feasible. If it's something that's more feasible, 10,000 or amounts like that, I would be in favor of it. I think long term, we need some type of solution, to the town's septic problem. But I want something that's financially sound, and I'd hate to have us sign up for something that we just simply can't afford.
Thank you.
What is your opinion of Measure C since its implementation? And what should the town be doing to prepare for when Measure C expires in another 4 years in order to maintain the present level of police, fire, and animal control?
I think Measure C was well intended. I've seen a lot of the spending on Measure C go to items that it was supposed to. I've seen new fire trucks, new police vehicles. However, I'm concerned about some of the spending that Measure C has done. For example, the town spent roughly about $600,000 on this recent microsurfacing job on the roads, and it wasn't done very well. It wasn't done right, and there was no really accountability for it. There was no concern from the council or from the town engineer that this job wasn't done correctly. And I've also seen, since we've had that Measure C money, the town purchasing things that probably didn't need to get purchased. Prime example is the piece of property in front of Classic Auto Body, that the small triangle that they decided to purchase. And I know the town's very limited on funds, so I'm wondering to myself, why are we buying a piece of land that we can't afford to buy and we can't afford to maintain? So I think moving forward, I think we need more accountability on the Measure C. I believe that we need to have a Measure C oversight committee that has varying opinions than the current one. And then moving forward, I would like to focus on trying to naturally bring up the revenue of Paradise, including things such as education, bringing businesses up here, and really kind of being a supplement to Chico, where we can advertise ourselves as a great bedroom community that supplements a lot what Chico does, and really try to get away from Measure C. If it were to come up again, the only way I would be in favor of it if the funds are restricted, and that's what I was originally in favor of 2 years ago, was very restricted Measure C funds, so those funds could be accountable to the people.
And you were in favor of more restricted fund usage or application in what areas particularly, Mike, did you want to see it restricted to?
In other words, I wanted the Measure C to be a special tax versus a general tax.
Oh, I see, okay.
And the reason why I wanted that is it prevents any shuffling of money, prevents any backfilling of holes, and I feel like, by and large, a lot of the money has been used for what it has been, but I think a lot of it has been hastily spent in an effort to kind of show the public, look, we're spending money on things that you can visually see, and we're not really getting the quality. And the quality items, particularly, I think the road improvements, we're not getting the quality. But on the other hand, I have seen the improvements with the police vehicles and the fire vehicles and some of the other things. So I think by and large, a lot of it has been used well. But there's portions of it I question why it was spent that way.
Where do you stand on the statewide, now while this issue may not apply to Paradise, in many ways it may, where do you stand on the statewide effort to legalize marijuana and efforts such as Measure L to relax local marijuana regulations?
My feelings on it are, whether or not I agree with it or people agree with it, marijuana has been deemed to be a medicine. Now, with that in mind, if it's a medicine, there's proper ways to dispense medicines. Just like if we go to our doctor and he gives us a prescription for painkillers, he doesn't give us a whole jar and just say, take what you like. So I think now we have kind of an extreme. I think the people that would like to have plants, grow a few plants, for the medicinal purposes, I think that's okay. What I have a problem with is when you drive up, especially up Highway 70 into Concow and Yankee Hill, you see where people have cleared off 20, 40-acre parcels with large commercial grows under the auspices of, well, this is for my medicinal use, and we know it's not, and we know it's a way to circumvent the law. And besides just the obvious circumvention of the law is the crime that it brings. I mean, these are not, this is not granny growing, a few plants. These are guys that are heavily armed. You hear about shootings and you hear about stabbings. And so I think where the balance needs to be is, commercial marijuana growing, I think needs not to exist in Butte County. However, I don't think that we should be, over-policing people's homes, where if someone's growing a plant or two, it's not providing a nuisance to the neighborhood, should be allowed to do so.
Mike, how would you characterize the town's financial situation?
I would say it's precarious. I think that the town, with the new Measure C influx, is forgetting that it's a temporary fix. I think we have long-term problems. So when the economy is good, the town tends to be good, but we really haven't saved for a rainy day. So I think instead of using all the Measure C money like we are, is okay, what do we do when Measure C is over besides asking for another increase? Because the people may not give it to them, and Measure C only passed by a few hundred votes. So I think there's responsibility of the town and its leadership to say this is what we did with it and this is why we need to extend it, or ask for a different variance of it. And that's part of the reason why I want to be on there, is to say to the people, this is what the money is being spent on. And this is what it shouldn't be being spent on, and speaking up what need to be. But I think the financial situation is precarious. I think it can go either way, but we have to find ways to survive as a town without just looking to sales tax hikes as our only solution out.
Mike, this is your opportunity to speak directly to the voters and tell them why they should vote and support you on November the 8th.
Thanks.
So.
I'd like to first thank Chuck and Chris for giving me this opportunity. The reason why I'm running, I'm always someone that speaks my mind, that speaks my opinion, and I'm not beholden to any groups or any organizations. I speak from the heart. I've served on various committees. I've been on Planning Commission. I've been the chair of Planning Commission and other groups because I have a love for my community. There's no other reason to do it but that. This is where my family is. This is where my kids go to school. This is where my wife and I call home. Paradise is a beautiful community, and I think with some better leadership, new leadership, and new ideas, we can really put Paradise on that course. I can really see Paradise. I see these old pictures of Paradise in the 70s and the 80s, where the streets were flooded with people, businesses were thriving, parades were just lively, and there was really a sense of community. And I feel like it's kind of slowly slipping away. And I don't want to see that happen. I want opportunities for my kids. I don't want to leave this community. So I want to do all that I can. And I feel that being a member of the town council will give myself and people that support me and people that don't even support me a avenue to present their opinions and look for solutions that can benefit us as a whole. And this November 8th, I'd ask for your vote. And I'll always remember, who I answer to, and that's the voters.
Thank you, Mike.
All right,
very much.
appreciate it.
Good to see you.